Alright, so this is a chair leg that's snapped off in a very difficult place to repair. Basically, there's the stump. It's been repaired before, little nails in it, old glue. That glue might be for the original, from the original construction, possibly. There's a brad nail in there. So it doesn't give a lot to work with on this broken end. It doesn't give a lot to work with at all. There's some missing parts, but there are also some parts that we still have. So this is not going to be easy, because it's got to be strong, obviously, and you don't have access to beyond this upholstery. I'm not going to take the whole chair apart, it's just not worth it for that, but certainly it's got to be strong and look half decent. There's quite a bit of missing material here we'll have to build up. So basically the approach is, a better angle on this thing. Right, the way that we're going to probably approach this now is to first drill a pilot hole into here with about a 4mm drill bit, 3-4mm drill bit. Drill it in to about thereabouts, and then what we're going to do is we're going to glue this on with an epoxy with all the parts and everything. Once that's set, we're going to cut slightly below, or in this case above, the join. Cut it nice clean cut right in half. That will leave us with a nice clean cut with a pilot hole, and there will be a pilot hole in the stump as well that we can use to drill out, and we can get a dowel in there and line it all up and glue it up, and it should be okay. I'm going to go with a 12mm dowel. Just because anything bigger you got to go into spade bits, and it's very hard to drill a spade bit straight using a thin pilot hole in both directions that they line up at the end of the day. It's much easier to just use a conventional drill. So that's what it's going to look like with a 12mm dowel in it. Should do the trick. little cordless batteries are flat, so there we go. Alright, so now we've got a pilot hole in the leg, and that will be our guide to drill a bigger hole, as well as when we cut this off, we're leaving this part when we cut this off, this part will still be behind, but we must make sure we leave a bit of that hole left. So we're going to cut this off about there, and that'll give us a guide to drill up a hole into the top, and use this pilot hole to make the hole bigger, so that when we get the dowel in and whatever, it all lines up nicely. You have to clean all these old brad nails out and scrape some of this glue off so that it fits as tightly as possible. There's an old crack there that's also glued up. It's a bit of a ugly break. Anyway, let's see what we can do. Ideally, what you want is for this to fit as tightly down as possible, and usually what prevents it from going too far down are buggered up fracture fibers that aren't lining up very nicely when it sits down. So we've got to take a bit of time to just clean out these areas to give it the best chance to have as much wood on wood contact as possible, because that's what you want when you're wanting a good join. You don't want, although the epoxy does make up for a lot of this missing wood story and filling up gaps and whatnot, but ideally you want it to be as tight as possible. So let's take a blade and clean this up, knock out those old nails, and prep it for its initial glue up. Basically just go around it and take off anything that might be an obstruction, something to get in the way, and also if there's extra glue blobs, just try and get them off. Get a bit of as much of the wood surface exposed as possible. This is some of the old glue from possibly the original build. Could be cold glue, hot glue. Alright, all the nails are out. Let's try a fit. It's going down. Just a little bit of a tap. And that now looks like it'll take to some epoxy quite well. Got some quite bad gaps at the front here, but that will fix up. Right, so the glue that we're going to use, I mean for these little fractured parts that need to be put in there, the main part we're going to use epoxy 2-part. Basically it's just a very, very strong glue, fills all the gaps and it sets like a resin. Obviously it's very perfect for that, whereas wood glue needs to have a very small gap. In fact, wood glue works best when the parts are clamped very, very tight together. Also, the nice thing about this CA glue is that it sets very, very quickly, so you just apply it, put it into position, activate it, and boom, it's on. So you don't have to wait too long with that. But what I want to do quickly is do a CA glue strength test. Is it stronger than wood, or is it not as strong as wood? I know epoxy is, we all know that wood glue is, but is CA glue, because it's so quick and convenient, it's very brittle, but how strong is it? So let's test that quickly. Alrighty, CA glue cyanoacrylate. Awesome stuff because it's instant. In our day and age we like instant things, and it's pretty damn instant. So I'm going to just test the strength. This is a piece of pine. Just a bit of little blob there, and this I think is a piece of stinkwood or something. Get some activator on it, and clamp it for a few seconds. And boom. Actually see squeeze out. Squeeze out's still a bit wet. Doesn't matter. Let's give it the best chance possible. Now, if the glue is stronger than wood, when you pull it apart, it's going to basically tear the wood. The glue won't tear, the actual wood will tear. Or if the glue is stronger than wood, obviously. Let's do it. Okay, well in this case it just didn't adhere to the wood very well. Let's try a rougher side. Okay. This side's a bit rougher, maybe there's more grip. One, two, three, four. You can actually see it boiling. Boil, boil, bind my wood. Alright. That's pretty firm already. Rock hard. Right. That's a bit more of a there it came off here. It's definitely binding to the pine much better than it is to this. It's not a conclusive test. Okay, let's try again with pine on pine. There we go. boiling, reacted, bonded. Okay, let's see. Yeah, unconvincing, but I'm pretty sure that one could say that that glue is stronger than the wood. I don't know why it's sliding off one side. Okay. Still cooking. Hear that? It's pretty good for instant tack. Strength wise, actually that's quite strong. Wow. That is actually quite strong. Yeah, it's got its applications and it doesn't have its others. I wouldn't use it for strength in sort of small surface area like that. But anyway, it's perfect for gluing little things like this back onto, like fractured parts that go back onto the little place. It's very, very good for that, which is what we're going to be using it for. This epoxy is obviously much stronger. That would, you know, that works well. We don't have to test that. Time to mix up the glue. Basically just snaps off and becomes a little cap. Snaps off a little bit untidy, I must say. A brutal snapping, but anyway. Let's get some glue going here. Well, this is quick set. Doesn't give you much time. About 5 minutes. This little tub costs, this little dispenser costs 35 Rand. Let's see how much we've used. Ish. Quite expensive stuff. One job application. But anyway, 35 Rand is actually very little in the great scheme of things internationally. 35 Rand basically buys you a McDonald's burger without chips, basic burger. Right. And then it's a case of applying the epoxy into the inside. looks a bit more because it's crucial that we get all the gaps filled. Alrighty. I think we've got the majority of the surfaces covered there. Into the corner. Obviously there'll be quite a bit of squeeze out that we'll have to deal with, so let's have a look. Alright. And do a gentle tappy tappy. Now we know with these front pieces, they are the ones which show us where the leg should be orientated. So I'm going to use them as my guide, and I'm going to weld it into place using the very runny CA glue, and then that will set. Alright, get the very runny CA glue. This stuff's flipping amazing. Okay. Welds that into position. Not very graceful repair, but okay, didn't take. Just needed to. It's not taking. Not a problem. Okay. I do want that to take. Right. I think that's not too bad. I'm going to let that glue set up and then deal with the chipped off pieces and get them all attached, get the holes done, filled up, and then do the amputation, and then the dowel, get the doweling done. Right, so it's been about 45 minutes and the epoxy is now set. That's pretty hard. Yep, solid. So I can take the clamps off. I can have a look at what we've got here. That's pretty rock solid. Now we're going to do the amputation, which I've marked to be at that point there. Cut it off. Alright. Obviously the best tool for the job is the thinnest saw blade possible, and that would be the old Japanese pool saw with a very, very thin blade, but I don't have one of those at the moment. So we're going to have to live with the next thinnest blade that I've got, which is a nasty little, oh, it's not too nasty in that it's going to cut not very straight, but it's a very thin blade, and it's one of these little hand saw jobbies. And it looks like we've got a good one in there already. Might be a thinner one. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to change these blades out and we're going to cut through that. Alright, now for the amputation. There's a hole. So this will allow us now to continue that pilot hole, getting it bigger and bigger, and we've now got a pilot hole in here and some meat to work with to get this thing both strong and lined up again. So it's a bit of a reconstruction or deconstruction, or so reconstruction, deconstruction, reconstruction. It's obviously going to need quite a bit of touching up and fixing up here, some panel beating and filling and colouring and whatever, but it will get back together again and it will be functional. Right, now we're going to drill these out bigger. In fact, what I want to do is try and keep some of this sawdust, because that's what I'm going to use to mix with my glue when I make filler. That's not much sawdust, we'll get more with the drilling. Alright, let's go up to 5.5. We've got to progressively work our way up to 12. Right, so what we can actually do now is collect more dust here. So we can now see that our angles should be bang on. Slightly off, but that will improve. It'll improve hopefully. Okay, let's go up to 6.5. Okay, and then we go to jump to an 8. So 8. Let's go up to 10. dust up as possible just now, and then the final 12mm. Very rough and ready backyard repair, but okay. Alright, there we go. Now chances of it fitting absolutely perfectly are very small, so we're going to have to tweak things a little bit. Basically goes to there, which means you've got to take off about a thumb's width. Let's take it off on the glue side, paint side, not that much. A bit. Tap this down. So we've got a bad misalignment here. So basically what has to happen is the whole lot's got to come over. So this one has to go like that. That one's got to go like that. This one's got to go. That's going like that. This one's got to go. Like that. Need adjustment room. Okay, it's getting there. Not ideal, obviously you'd want these things to be perfectly lined up, but it will work. Okay. better. Tweak it a bit more. This one. Okay, we've got the right line in that direction. Now we just need to tweak it in that direction. That came loose. I didn't use my chuck key. Okay. And bingo. Bingo. We've got alignment. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is, because I had to drill these holes out a bit, I'll use epoxy just to fill the holes a bit, because the wood glue that I want to use isn't going to fill the hole very well. And we want these holes to be, we want this to be set. So let's get rid of all of this stuff now. Don't need this anymore. Don't need this. So it's going to be just a case of gluing that into position and waiting for that to set, and then the filling and the cosmetic filling of these cracks and making it look pretty is what's going to follow after that. Alright, so let's mix more epoxy. These little tubs don't go far. A whole lot. In this case, rather more than we need than not enough, because this is the main joint. Okay. Fill that hole. Okay. That's nice. Fill this one. rest on the glue line. Now that saw left a very nice and jagged cut line on here, so there's a lot of corrugations for the glue to adhere to. Alright. Now I'm going to clamp it and then clean it up. Bad. Epoxy sets really quickly. Alright, just going to get some thinners to clean it up a bit better with. Because this epoxy sets so quickly, it doesn't give you much time to tidy up. You've got to be on it. Alright. Yummy thinners. Thinners with an epoxy infusion. It's great for the lungs. Okay. That's a pretty pretty reasonable join. So that we will just allow to set up. For about an hour or so, and then I will tend to the cosmetic side of things and get that all built up again and looking. Basically what you want it to do is just look largely invisible. It doesn't matter if there's signs of work being done on it before, it's fine for an antique or for an old thing. It's to be expected, but you don't want it to be too obvious. So now effectively what this is doing is it's binding this whole area into one thing again. And when we do drop the filler glue into these cracks here, you can't really see them from this side, but from the other side it will also just bind everything together, cement it all. So that's that for now. Let that dry. Right, it's been about 15-20 minutes that I've left this epoxy now to dry. This is pretty, it's obviously not cured, but it's you can't stick a nail in it, you know, it's that hard. What I did do earlier though was, back to the super glue story, I put some super glue on both sides of the wood and then clamped it. I didn't use the activator. My theory was it always failed on the side where we sprayed the activator, so I thought that maybe the activator is creating a barrier where the glue sets a lot quicker and it doesn't get a chance to soak into the fibers of the wood. So this has been this obviously slowed the process down because it wasn't activated, but let's just have a look at what it does if we break it now. Yeah, here it's actually pulled the wood out. It had a much better join than where we did it the last time. So it's actually pulled the wood away. Torn the wood, so it did do a better job. I'm sure if it penetrated deeper into the wood, it would have done it would be better. It just doesn't really penetrate. Perhaps the very runny stuff would be a better, because that will. You see that goes in too fast. Anyway, back to the chair. Now what we're going to do is fill these gaps. Okay, so it's pretty much time now to remove the clamp. I think that glue is as bonded as it's going to be. So that's its new fixed position. And now we've got to start working on the cosmetic side of things. To try and get this thing looking acceptable again. So alright. Righty, now the issue is getting this to look good. There are all sorts of voids and etc. here, so we're just going to fill those. So we just use this tape to make a little dam wall. And then sprinkle some of our finer Primo powder in there. The finer the powder, the better, obviously. And try and level that off. Not super crucial, it will be sanded. And then unblock your magic glue. Here we are, unlock the magic glue. Okay, oops. Let that set a little bit. Sprinkle some more. These holes. Alright, and that's basically all that you really need to do. And then run a sander over there, get that flat. Okay, so I've done the front side, I've done this side, and now we're going to do this worst of it, which is the inside part. And that's quite a bad, there's quite a lot missing there, as you can see, maybe like this. So let's tackle that. Get the sawdust in there. The finer the sawdust, the better, obviously. And try and leave all the white specks of paint out. Okay. Something like that. And then permanentize it. Boom. And then speed it up. And avoid these fumes, they really are not pleasant. Cyanoacrylate sounds a lot like cyanide. Okay. There, it's boiling. Phew. Right. It's ready for a bit of machining. Yeah. And let's give that a bit of love. Soften that corner a bit. Okay. And then basically it just disappears, and you should hardly even notice that repair once it's all put together. Getting there, just got the back side to do and then we're done. Right, so this is the back side, and it doesn't have too much wrong with it. There's a bit missing. There's a bit missing there that we will fill in, and then fill in this crack line. I think for this I'll use the slightly thicker glue. If there's any left in here, probably not. Let's get the new one going. Okay, so I'm just gonna let that run in there. Let that run in there. This is just cosmetic purposes, really. That should do. Let's get a quick. Some manual machinery to get that nice line back again. Okay. Boom. There we go. Maybe soften these corners a little bit. There we go. I told the client that this wasn't going to be a pretty join. And she wasn't too perturbed, but we try to do it as nicely as possible anyway. She wants to gift the set to somebody in the future, so I just want to get them looking as nice and as acceptable as possible. Not too bad for a freebie. There you go. Okay. Okay, this needs a wee bit more machining. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad, considering. There we go. Alright, and that's pretty much the... Come on, widget. Move out the way, widget. That's the completed repair of the badly broken chair leg. Oop, sorry doggies. So it's really kind of, unless you're really looking at it, will you see it? And it's back to being functional. Yep, does the job again. So that's the completion of that job.